Hello, I'm Stephanie Miller, one of the librarians for the Graduate Theological Union, or the GTU. This video is for GTU people who are studying from a distance, who don't usually come into our physical library at Berkeley or our branch library in San Anselmo, California. The GTU subscribes to a variety of resources and tools for both our in-person users as well as you, the person who is using the library remotely. Today, we'll talk about our search systems and how to log in to access books, articles, and more. So, as always, we'll start off with looking at the library homepage. So you can find us at gtu.edu/library. Right now, we have librarians available to you via our live chat. You can just click this orange chat bubble and be connected with a librarian Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. You can also reach out to us for more in-depth help through our email address. So we are available at library@gtu.edu. And you can also give us a call at 510-649-2501. But I highly recommend our email and chat as we check it every weekday, and we're highly responsive during our open chat hours, which you can see here on our library hours block over here. I got to this page by going to services and going over to our help and reference right there. Let's find a little bit more out about the website here. There's a lot of links. So when you come to the library homepage, we've got this white logo bar across the top, and there's actually two great links up here to our recorded workshops. So our orientations right here, and Zotero down here. I'm going to be previewing a little bit about this citation software, but I highly recommend this video as your next tutorial that you watch after this one. We also have asynchronous follow along guides for particular subject areas in religion. We also have our Getting Started guide, which I highly recommend that you review so that you can jump into particular things that I may not have covered in depth, or that you just want to do on your own without having to rewatch a video. This guide has a whole bunch of great information for you. The other thing that I want to point out is you'll be using Summon for most of your searches. That's the search box right underneath the big word library. This searches both our print and online resources, and gathers them all together in one big bucket. Literally millions of results if you do a general enough search. We'll talk more about that later. We have hundreds of databases. So you can browse our complete list here on the electronic resources page. Sometimes it's useful to do a search in a database like the ATLA database because it has specialized tools that maybe Summon doesn't have. We also have a targeted search within our library catalog. You probably won't be using the catalog that much because it's like a digital version of a card catalog. It's mostly for the items that we have physically in the library, and you're studying from a distance and won't be able to come in and browse the shelf. So Summon is the place to go. Other things to note are any updates or urgent news, like the work that's being done in our building, some FAQs. And then these turquoise buttons, some of them are going to be very useful for you, like the scanning and perhaps even the interlibrary loan or suggest a purchase. We'll talk more about when to use those a bit later. I wanted to also mention that you'll see our chat box in your Moodle courses, and it'll also be on the side when you do a summon search. So please just give us a quick chat if you're hitting a brick wall as you're trying to find an item. I highly recommend bookmarking both this library homepage and our electronic resources page for your studies. So when you search, you're going to be prompted to sign in to access, because we've had to pay money on your behalf for access to all of this wonderful scholarship. So to sign in, come up to your library account. If this is your first time signing in, you're going to have to create a password or a personal identification number. That number part is a little disingenuous, as they want you to create a password that has letters and numbers, but no symbols. So the example here, 2021 Berkeley, is perfect. It's got numbers and letters. If you create a PIN and then you forget it, we've got a forget your PIN link so that you can reset it. It'll usually send you a link to your school email to reset your PIN. Again, if it's your first time, you would just enter your student ID number, which you can find in the place where you register for classes, or you can contact your registrar to get that number. It's usually a 7-digit number. You'll probably put 2 letters in front of it. For example, if you were a student at the GTU, you'd put GT and then your 7-digit number. When you create your PIN, you'll leave this blank and hit submit, and then it'll guide you through that PIN creation process. You'll want to maybe put a Post-it note next to your home workstation so that you don't forget it, or use a password manager to save that password. That's our #1 question: how to reset your PIN. We're happy to help you on chat with anything that you might need, include resetting your PIN. All right, let's move back to how to search and get access to some items. I'm going to click the GTU logo to come back, and then up to library to get to our home page. Remember, when you search, you can use certain words to limit or broaden your search. For example, I might do a search for hospitality and worship, so that I get the intersection of those 2 topics. And maybe I want to broaden out this idea of worship by saying or music, so that I get hospitality and worship, or hospitality and music. So I've gotten 800 results here. To the left, I can see all sorts of different ways to limit this search, because I don't know about you, but 800 seems like a lot of results. So maybe I'll limit by year, or maybe I'll limit by type. Maybe I want to start with books or ebooks. You can also limit by language if you'd like. Let's go ahead and do the full text online limiter up here. That's taken us down to 700. And let's look at the last 5 years. And that's taken us down to 200 results. When I click for full text access online, it should prompt me to sign in. Now I'm on campus. It did. This is exactly what your login will look like. So look for that GTU logo, put in your student ID number, type in that PIN you create, and hit login. So we've been taken to this page in one of the databases that the GTU subscribes to. This is the EBSCO ebook database. Ebooks look different depending on which platform they're offered on. I want to encourage you to scroll down to see the table of contents and navigate in to read the book from this table of contents down here. Some other important things to note is the summary. If you even want to read it. You might want to read the summary and see if it's relevant. There's also limits set by the publisher of the book on how much we can download. But it's kind of interesting that you can copy and paste as much as you want from the book here. Some books are only available to one person at a time. So if you ever get an error message, this book is in use, just click back maybe the next day or in a couple of hours, because the publisher limits libraries' access to a certain number of copies that we have to pay for. So let's say I want to start off with the first chapter. It'll click and load. I can read it this way, or there's this tiny download arrow next to each chapter, and I can download a particular chapter as a PDF. So that's ebook access. They even have interesting citation options and a built-in dictionary, or a option to save a link for yourself to this book if you would like. The thing about research is you'll have multiple tabs open. So you'll notice that the book opened in a new tab. My search results are still over here to the left in this tab. I wanted to show you that if you click on the quick look, you'll get a lot more information, including the subject headings and options to cite in Chicago Turabian, which is the citation method that most classes at the GTU use. You can also save a link to it or email this result to yourself if you would like. Be careful about saving searches in Summon, as if you have not created a Summon account, which is different from your library account, it can get hard to access those saved searches again. So try not to do that in Summon. I've had folks do a lot of saving and then they've lost their list. So it's much better to have maybe a document on your computer or in the cloud where you have your links, or even better yet, use a tool like Zotero, which will save the link to the book for you. So I've got Zotero up here. It's one of the tools is one that allows you to save the result and get back to it. So I'm going to check the box next to this book and hit OK. And it's coming over to a particular folder. I can just change it to my general library. So it comes back with the information and I can cite it later on. We have a full video on Zotero, so I won't get too much into it right now, but it is a very helpful tool. So you'll notice that there was a lot of limits on that ebook. There isn't limits on downloading or accessing articles beyond what the publishers set as far as the span of years for a particular journal. We can see item types here. You even will get results from dissertations and theses here. Here's the journal article from the Music Educators Journal. Or maybe I'm more interested in St. Mark's Review here. So again, I just click the full text online link to get to this article. And this is taking me to the lovely ATLA religion database. I always like taking a look at these subject headings too, because I can do a more advanced search with these, which I'll show in just a bit. You'll probably want to go straight to downloading the article, or maybe again going up and saving your article to Zotero. I'm actually going to click in and take a look first. I want to see the abstract. Oh, it jumps right into the article. This one is a short one. I'm just going to come up here and save it. And you'll notice with Zotero, it'll even bring over the full PDF if it's available. So you can read it at your leisure and cite it easily. So that's how to access. I can also download or print here within the database. There's the download arrow, there's the print icon. Now, sometimes you'll be doing some targeted classwork, maybe on chaplaincy or spiritual direction, and you'll notice that maybe the same journal keeps coming up as you do a variety of searches. There is a way to do a journal-specific search, to browse it, maybe keep up on the latest issue, and that is best accessed through our electronic resources page. So from the library homepage, this link right underneath the summon search bar. It's this turquoise button right here, search by journal. We can search for particular words in the title, like chaplaincy. So you can see we have chaplaincy today, gives us the years, health and social care chaplaincy. And it's interesting to note that in the ATLA database, there's a 3-month, what they call embargo, a limit for some reason, possibly because Equinox, the publisher, has its own website and wants to direct people there. So there's a variety of reasons that publishers do that, but it looks like we've got you covered here with the past, the most recent journal in this Equinox database. Then finally, here's our Journal of Healthcare Chaplaincy, online access provided 1997 up to today. So I'm going to click the name of the database to jump into the journal. I could always do this search too, but I kind of like to see the totality of the journal. I like jumping into a journal like this because you can always get more information about who's editing it, who set it up, who's sponsoring it, who's paying for it. All of that good information to determine whether I should cite from it. So here's the latest volume, and here's the most recent issue. And it looks like they have an interesting supplement too. I might actually click that. So sometimes you'll see this green dot link to full text. Make sure you're always clicking into the PDF link first, because we probably have access to, and sure enough, we do. So look for the PDF, either that red and gray icon or the PDF link like I did just there, to get into the article. I can also do a search within the journal. Maybe I'm going to look for everything that mentions COVID. That could be another way to do a very targeted search. So I talked a little bit about Zotero. I'm going to go ahead and save a few more articles here. And Zotero is also a program on my computer, like a mini library of all the things that I'm reading for a particular project. So let me go ahead and share my Zotero library with you. As you can see, I've created folders for a whole bunch of different projects. Let's go into the smaller one. So you can see I've just started my work here on the Sustainable Library Instruction Project. I can go in and read a particular article. With the most recent Zotero, I can even highlight particularly good ideas here. So I select the highlight tool, and I can even add a note. So it's a way to digitally mark up your work, identify quotes that you might be able to use. So I can close out that PDF and then retrieve the annotation and easily copy this over into a Word document. Zotero integrates really seamlessly with Microsoft Word. So I've started to write a paper right here, got some good content, but I need to add some footnotes, some citations. So at the end of something that includes somebody else's thought, I'm going to use my Zotero tool to add a citation. Now, when you add your first citation to a new document, it has you pick your citation style. Chicago full note is usually good for whenever your professor asks for Turabian or Chicago. Turabian is completely built off of the Chicago citation system. They're practically identical. But always refer back to your Turabian manual to make sure that this computer program, Zotero, is doing everything correctly. Because sometimes computers don't know the difference between how you want to cite something in particular, or they bring over something in all caps, or there's extra punctuation somewhere in there. So you always want to be correcting the computer program, but you don't need to correct it that often. It's pretty magical. So I've decided on footnotes, I've decided on my citation method, then the search bar pops up and I can find a particular book that I'm citing or article. And it added my footnote and everything's perfectly listed at the bottom of the page in the right font. I'm going to do a couple more citations here. Add edit citation. All right, and our last one. Perfect. All right, so I've got my 3 footnotes, and then here's how you add your bibliography page. Of course, you have to type bibliography at the top, then just click the Add Edit Bibliography. So you can see all 3 books are listed for my bibliography. To learn more, I'll link the Zotero tutorial that the library has on YouTube, and encourage you to ask us if you have any follow-up questions on Zotero. So now we just have a few more things left to review. Not everything is accessible through our library. Especially as a remote user, it can be challenging. So I wanted to show you a few tools for when your search and summon seems to indicate that there's not an electronic copy. So let's start by reviewing how to notice when something's available in our print collection. So let's go ahead, and I can just go directly into summon by clicking the orange search summon without typing anything in. Sometimes I like to do that because up here near options is a way that I can do a very targeted search. So let's say I'm looking for books and I want something published in the last 3 years, and it must have a subject term around the Book of Amos. I want any sort of criticism within the last 3 years. Wonderful. There is an ebook, which is pretty nice, but it's came up because of Amos Oz, not Amos, the book of the Bible. Now here, there's a New International Commentary on Amos, and there's a T&T Clark Library of Biblical Studies, pretty rigorous looking commentary here. So notice how they have check availability and then the call number. That means it's physically at the library, but if I'm a remote student, well, how do I get access? Well, first of all, click the link so that you can see more information about the book. Often you'll see the table of contents listed out here. This book is pretty small. It's only 156 pages. Let's say I'm not so interested in the history and social identity. Maybe I'm only interested in this last part where they get into eschatology. So I might highlight this, keep those tabs open so I can retrace my steps. We have a service that you can use when you only need a book chapter and not the entire book. We cannot scan entire books due to copyright law. So under services in this gray bar, the same place where the chat box is, click scanning services and just fill out the form. I copied the chapter that I wanted so that I could easily just put that chapter heading in that portion of the form, and then make sure to hit that final purple submit button. It takes about 3 to 5 business days to scan chapters for folks. So you do want to make sure that you're giving enough time for yourself to get all the materials you need for your papers and projects. So this is the scanning form under services, the last link. Next, if you want to broaden your search out, let's say you weren't happy with the results that you were getting in just our catalog in Summon, there's another place to go for ebooks. And actually, a lot of our collection is currently being digitized by this organization. It's the Internet Archive, and their full database and online library is accessible via archive.org. They have a whole variety of really neat collections, audiobooks, poetry, even a spirituality and religion section here. So you can browse by these collections that they've put together. I'd recommend first signing in. So you can see that I've signed in. You're going to see a sign up link right here. Sign up for a free account so that you can borrow books. They've got item types listed at the top here, and they've got a really great help section that'll walk you through everything you need to know about borrowing books. Borrow a book from archive.org. But let's go back. Under books, I recommend searching using the Open Library tool. And you can do an advanced search for a particular book. So let's see what's written by Wendy Farley in here. And there's limiters here off to the right. We want an ebook. And then I can step in to borrow. I can even preview a few. One thing that I wanted to show you is, look how they're only giving me an hour for this book. If you click this arrow next to return now, there's actually an option to borrow it for longer. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my loan to that longer 2-week loan. I could continue to read this book in the browser, but if you click the 3 dots here, they will give you format options. So the PDF is it's exactly like a scan. EPUB might be preferable to you depending on if you have a Kindle reader. I'm going to go ahead and click Get PDF. Notice that it does not download as a PDF. It downloads as an Adobe protected file. So one thing that the help document on Internet Archive will help you to do is to install the free Adobe Digital Edition software. I can share my screen with you. So I've got Ain't I a Womanist 2 borrowed. And if I go to my downloads, I can drag this file for the book that I've just borrowed over to Adobe Digital Editions, which will then let me actually read the book. You can have both the Open Library and digital editions as apps on your phone. I have an Android, so I just successfully did some downloading via my phone this morning. If you're a phone or a tablet reader, that's an option. You'll start to see more of GTU owned books on this platform. So I highly recommend that you play with it and let us know if you need any assistance using the ebooks available here. Something that I like to do actually is go up and search the entire book for any mentions of particular people. So she talks about Julian of Norwich here on page 14, and then uses her as a quote for chapter 4, and then cites her in the bibliography. So very powerful tool here, the Internet Archive. So that's another place to go, sometimes even for journal articles, although it can be a little bit harder to find those since you might have to search by journal title, but I'm happy to help with that, or the other reference librarians are too. Next up, let's talk a little bit about interlibrary loan. So interlibrary loan is almost exactly what it sounds like. It's one library asking another library on a patron's behalf to send a book or a scan of a chapter or a journal article to the library, and then we deliver it on behalf of that institution. So it's a system that we have set up so that libraries share material amongst each other. The GTU doesn't have a budget to mail books out to folks, so we do not offer that service. But between interlibrary loan through us, or maybe the interlibrary loan service at your public library or nearby seminary, you might be able to get books delivered to a place that's easy for you to get to and pick up. So how would you use interlibrary loan? Let me show you. So remember how I was saying that you might find things, you might be frustrated by the search that you do in some and you're like, there's not enough results. So if you're doing a very interdisciplinary search, so maybe you're thinking about true crime podcasts and spirituality. Maybe shouldn't have put quotes around this, but maybe I decided to make it a little less narrow. Let's do podcast and spirituality. There we go. But this still seems like maybe there should be more out there. So here's what else you can try. On our electronic resources page, all the way down at the bottom, there's this tool called WorldCat, the world's library catalog. So those libraries that are able to have an online catalog often share it with this tool called WorldCat. You can learn about the really advanced tool called First Search, but let's go ahead and use this open access version. It's a lot more visually pleasing here. I'm going to accept the cookies here and do my search for podcast. I'll use the truncation symbol here, the star, asterisk, and spirituality. And sure enough, I got 30 results in Summon, but I'm getting over 300 results here. Sorting them by relevance, so the ones that most often mention these two things. So now I'm discovering a lot more interesting items here. But this first one is actually kind of interesting, and it's an audiobook too, or this third one. I'm going to go ahead and click this. So now that you've discovered this item, you could hit this request link if it shows up for you, but know that if you're studying at a distance, you need to only request a chapter or two because they cannot deliver the whole book. So I'd scroll down here and find something related to my topic. Maybe this radical empathy is what I'm looking for. So I would click request. And then you'd fill out your information and add the chapter as a comment there. The other way that you can do an interlibrary loan request, because maybe you're searching Amazon or Google Books or something like that, is from the GTU Library homepage, go to Services and Interlibrary Loan. You can learn more about the purpose of ILL, what you can and cannot request here, and there's the form here. Again, you'll be using journal article or book chapter for the item to be delivered to you electronically. Now, if you needed the whole book, you'd ask at your local public library how to get that whole book. If you don't know the libraries near you, WorldCat has a tool to help you find it. Right underneath their search box, there's the Find a Library tool. You can put in your zip code and find nearby academic libraries, go in and search their website, nearby public libraries. Some of them, public libraries, you'll be able to apply for a card right from their website. Very easy and quick there. Or call them and ask about interlibrary loan of an entire book. So if you need an entire book or an entire thesis, you initiate the interlibrary loan request with the library near you. Now, you may have a seminary near you, and the GTU participates in a really cool program sponsored by the American Theological Library Association. The program is called the Reciprocal Borrowing Program. So here's the page for that. So the way it works is that you can, with your student ID, proof of current registration here at the GTU or the member school, go visit another library that participates in the same program, and they will offer you a free or reduced cost card to use the library. You'll notice some states don't have seminary libraries that participate, but if you are near a major center, like maybe you're near St. Louis, you can check out the seminaries that may be able to help you out. So if you need any assistance reaching out to the seminary, feel free to chat us or email us for assistance on how to use this ATLA reciprocal borrowing program. I know it's been a lifesaver for some of the Doctor of Ministry students I've worked with, so it may be a solution for you. A longer range thing is if you, as a part of your coursework, realize that we're missing a particular book on spirituality, world religions, theology, chaplaincy, and you think it fits within our collection, you can suggest a purchase, that turquoise button right there. As long as it falls within the educational mission of the GTU or the member schools, we'll try to pursue getting an electronic copy if we can. Not everything is available electronically. We'll try to get print if we can't get the electronic. So there's the link to suggest that the library buy an item. This has been hopefully a quick overview and hopefully helpful as you get acclimated to your research at the GTU. Please ask, chat any of us librarians for any assistance with your research, your searching, any problems with access. We are happy to help. Welcome to the GTU. Thank you.